Hey guys, if you don't know who I am, I'm Savia Rocks, and I help people tell their stories, stay inspired, and get educated as they find the pride of who they are within creativity, but most of all, without judgment. Join us as we talk about
You really want to leave a legacy, do something for mankind. Do something that's going to benefit not just your children, everyone else's children.
I think our job as humans is to become the person we were born and peel away the cultural stuff that was given to us, the trauma, like peel away the stuff that changed us or that was thrown on us or made us small or made us go off track.
The biggest thing I've always found is when people think they know so much, then they start knowing so little.
And I'm making the right choice, and I'm showing up for myself, and I'm showing up for what matters in life.
Sometimes I think that trauma doesn't always have to be a bad thing. I think trauma can help you make choices in your life that turn something that started bad into something beautiful. So guys, welcome to season 7 of the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Hi, my name is Raf Santana. I'm a screenwriter, producer, and you're listening to the Us People podcast with Savia Rocks.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Us People podcast. I'm your host, Savia Rocks, and today I have Raph here with me, who is a professional screenwriter and producer. Raph, I want to thank you so much for taking your time to come on the Us People podcast. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Savia, and thank you very much for inviting me.
You are more than welcome. So Raph, I'm going to jump into my first question. Even I'm intrigued about this one too. So Raph, could you tell me a bit about your life, where you grew up, but also how that influenced you to be the person who you are today?
Wow, yeah, okay. I mean, I guess where I am today is all about background and just life experiences. So just a very short as I can make it history. My brother and I, we grew up with our mum, single parent, and in Brighton, and we didn't have a lot of money for many years, but it was a very happy childhood, and we didn't know the difference really, but we never went without. I remember we were on floorboards for 2 or 3 years and all of those things. But my brother and I found ways to get into trouble, and of course it was a very sort of a creative time, let's say. We had a very happy childhood. And I actually wanted to be a vet.
Oh.
Yeah, I was massively into that, and so I had loads and loads of kept little pets and things growing up, and that was my life path mapped out really. And so everything was about aiming for veterinary school, veterinary college, to study veterinary science. But unfortunately, my brain didn't keep up with my ambition, or should I say, my academic marks didn't keep up with my ambition. So come sort of like the time when I'm trying to apply for these places, it's just impossible. And I've ended up with a C in biology and an A level in photography and art, which, let's face it, isn't going to help me cure cows or
cows.
deliver whatever babies are going to be required of me in the future. So my ambition for that kind of took a nosedive very quickly. And to be fair, I did have kind of ambitions of maybe sort of living and working on some big game reserve on Africa. It was a very romanticized idea about things. And so I could see my imagination working very well, and maybe that was where things were going to be headed. Thinking and imagining things, but perhaps not actually being in that space. But I could put characters there, maybe. So after my my offer of studying zoology, which I turned down because the thought of in my mind at that point, operating and living wearing a lab coat for the rest of my life kind of horrified me. I was hopeless at maths, and as I said, my academic background was just hopeless. It was still catching up with me. I decided to kind of go a bit more creative, and so at that point I was living in some digs in Brighton with a few friends, and the brother of one of the friends, he was studying photography. So I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So I started getting into that more and more, and so that's just how it put me on the path for media, as it were. And I went down to the local paper and asked if I could work as a photographer there, and did a few little snaps here and there. And I think one of the things was I was doing pictures of Russell Grant for a little local paper for his astrology section, and it was all very nice, and they were all very, very, very lovely about it. But I was pretty hopeless in terms of having any idea of what I really wanted to do, and building up my portfolio and things like that. And I think after, I do remember at one point going down during the bombing of the Brighton Grand Hotel.
Yes.
And I was actually in the lobby at 2 a.m. I'd done a big fashion show down in a nightclub thing a few doors along, and I thought, I'll go along there and naively ask to see if I can snap any politicians or something like that. Not that I was any paparazzi. I was just like thinking, I've got to get something in my portfolio. I've got nothing, and but something told me to go. I know it was 1 or 2 a.m, but it was something that was said, no, you got to go. And yet it was I think I could have got a few interesting things there. And I walked home from there, and an hour and a half later, the place was blown up. So it was like, oh God, that's just extraordinary. It's crazy. But I then pursued it. I got a little internship in a photographer's, and that was really helpful for me. And eventually got a place at film school, or actually doing photography down in Bournemouth and Paul College of Art and Design, which I think is Bournemouth University now. And in my first term, I just kind of fell in love with more the film side of things, and switched from photography to film as my major, if you like. And that was it really. And I teamed up with a couple of pals, and we were trying to get some films going and things there. And I was told at that point that I couldn't really write unless I was going to direct. I didn't want to direct, but I kind of wanted to write.
Yeah.
But it wasn't an option really. Those two went hand in hand. It was very much like writer-directors at that time. And so it's like, okay, well, the next best thing is producing really. So I went out, and again, I just horrified at my business proposals that I sent out to people trying to raise money for a short film. And I did. I managed to raise some money, and then was looking through textbooks and God knows where else to try and figure out, well, how am I going to structure this as a deal? And so I did a deal with a college, and we did a co-production and things. So to cut a long story short, we made something, and it eventually sold to the BBC. And I was kind of on my way, but with really just nothing, and nothing behind me whatsoever. And I managed to get you'll forgive me, Savia, because I shudder at all these things now as I'm recounting them. I shudder at them. I managed to get a grant to attend the Cannes Film Festival, and that was from the Trade Board. So I had a stand in the British Pavilion, and it paid for the stand, it paid for some expenses and everything. And I had the centre stand there. I had nothing but a sofa and a poster that was made up from Prontoprint, wherever it was at the time, and a VHS tape with my short film. That was it. I had literally no idea of what I was doing whatsoever. And all these big film companies have stands around me. So this was a great learning curve. And the first ever pitch I ever made was to a producer at a company called Troma. And Troma made movies like Surf Nazis Must Die and Stuff Stephanie in the Incinerator, slasher horror movies. And I pitched them a period drama. Right? I pitched them Downton Abbey. So lesson number one was, you're a very, the feedback I got was, you're a very nice young man, come back when you've got 10 years under your belt and a sense of what you're doing. So they were nice. But it was a great learning curve. It was an amazing learning curve. And I got nothing from the festival other than invitations to attend various parties on, in pavilions and yachts and things like that, with no idea of anybody at all. But and I came away with nothing. And then on the plane flying back, I met a guy who was just a property developer who wanted to kind of get into doing some films, and he set me up for a year.
Wow.
He paid for he had an apartment in Ladbroke Square, Nottingham Gate, and he paid for the development of a project, and we developed that up, and all was kind of good. So I was on track as a producer, and that didn't get anywhere. We pitched it, and we had lots of interest. But it's like with all these things, you're always in development with something, and but the contact started to grow. This is probably taking about 5 or 6 years now. We're in 5 or 6 years with nothing to show for it. But the only person that was making money was the guy that was printing all my business cards, and or the cobbler who was repairing my shoes from walking around to meetings back now and again, back and forth. And so it was just horrifically embarrassing. And there are so many things that I remember doing. I remember being in my meeting with a very well-known executive from Paramount, and I don't know what I was thinking. I had a briefcase with me, right? Nobody had a briefcase then, and I had a briefcase with me. And the first thing she said to me when I walked into her office is, "What have you got in there? Your sandwiches." The sad part is, I did have my sandwiches in there, right?
Right.
So I know. So am I suited as a producer? I don't know. But what I do know is that probably a couple of years later, I was asked to raise some money for a film by a very well-known producer, and I did have some contacts. And this guy had made, his name is Robert Watts. He's passed away now, but he was I think it was part of the Empire Strikes Back, and he produced Alive and a number of other big movies, and we were trying to raise some money for a pet project of his, and that kind of led me to having lots of scripts come my way. And as I was reading those scripts, I thought, these are terrible. These are absolutely awful, and I could do better, completely better myself than this. And it was that little light bulb moment, where I asked myself the question, if you can do better than that, then do it.
Yes.
Then do it. So I had an office off the King's Road. I was living there, and I packed up my stuff, And that weekend, and I came back to Brighton and saved myself a fortune in rent and closed everything down up in London with my kind of producer hat on, and went and wrote a script.
See?
Yeah. Stop me if you want to jump in
No,
with any
no,
questions.
no. I love it. No, keep it going. Keep it going.
We can keep going for a number of decades here. Anyway,
Number of decades.
yeah. So I finished that script, and I started, as most writers, sending the script out to agents and trying to look for representation, and it was, I would say, pretty much a carbon copy that predated Jim Carrey's film Liar Liar.
Oh, yes.
And that was the feedback I got. So I'd written that probably 3 years before Liar Liar, and I know it was kind of on the edge of production because I started getting some feedback from submissions I was making. But it did get me an agent, and I was over the moon. I was like, that's just incredible. I was just so happy. And I thought, well, this is it. Obviously, somebody validates the work that I'm doing, and it's been such a rough road. And now, finally, I've been able to kind of find my place here. 3 months later, the agent went bust, and and had taken loads of the client's money.
What's going on?
I know. I'm like, what's happening here? Maybe I need to kind of rethink, becoming a vet again or something. I don't know. So it's like, okay, well, that's the first. That's the kind of a big knock. So I'm going to have to just think about a plan B. And at the time, I come into contact with a great script editor. She's probably the best script editor in the country, and I worked with her for a number of years, and her name is Britt Harrison. She's just incredible, and my brother and I, at that point, we started working together, and she said to us, "Look, you guys have got to kind of make something. You've got to make a little short film or something, get onto the map." Because you're obviously writing features, and that's great, and they are, they're strong. It's strong material, but you're going to have to prove yourself. So that's what we did. And in 2000, I think it was, I had a friend of mine that was in the Royal Marines in the Falklands, and he was telling me an account of something that happened to him when he was there. And so we took that account and we condensed the whole thing down and compressed some of the timelines and made this short film, which we shot in Wales. And we had cast Gael Garcia Bernal, would you believe? He'd just finished doing Amores Perros. We went to his agent. We said, look, this is the script. We knew he was half Mexican, half Argentinian. And it's like, this is the script. We think it'd be great in it. And then we also found another actor, Kevin Knappman, who we'd seen in a film called a BBC film, I think it was called The Leaving of Liverpool, about evacuees during the Second World War. Just such an amazing performance, and both Kevin and Gael are just incredible. I mean, really, really incredible. So we had our cast locked in, and we shot in Wales because that would emulate the cold, wet, damp conditions of the South Atlantic and the Falklands. On the first day, they had a heat wave, so all the actors got burnt to a crisp, and we had the challenge of thinking, how can we make no insult to Wales, but how can we make Wales look, damp and wet and cold? Now we're in this blazing sun, so we had to go and beg and borrow some very large kind of flags, like sails, to stick above the area that we were shooting to diffuse the heat and the light. And we made that, and it was just it was an incredible it was an incredible experience. It was incredibly difficult technically, or logistically, I should say, because we were halfway up a mountain, and I had just a horrendous time producing it. I'd written it, my brother directed it, and I was producing it, or effectively line managing everything. But it was just invigorating, and it taught me so much. And I remember filling up we had to hire a Land Rover, and we were halfway up a mountain filming this thing, and I filled up the Land Rover and drove back, realizing I just left the petrol cap off, so I had to drive back at 4 a.m. on virtually nothing. And it was just like that. Then we had our film. Our film had been for some reason there was a fault with the camera, so we had to go and reshoot twice in Wales with the actors, and we had two problems. So it was a nightmare. But we carried on with that, and we believed in the project, and we cut the project at home in Brighton, and then we submitted it to BAFTA, and in that year we just out of the blue we had a BAFTA nomination straight away. So it was like, my God, that's amazing, and it was a really, the thing about it was the nomination itself was great, and it wasn't like it was a vindication. It was just part of the thing. Like, okay, we're going to be on the path, on a journey now, and I'm hoping that we can start to really make some headway. So I put my CV out and various writing samples to various agents that I really wanted to be represented by, thinking, okay, well, that's going to be great. It's going to, I'm sure we'll now we can start making stuff, right? Nothing, not a single thing. So it's like, what the hell are we going to do? So we started writing another short. And this time it's like, we can't do the same kind of thing. Let's explore other areas. So we took a Noel Coward play, and we decided to adapt that as a 1930s story about a kind of a double act, a couple at the end of their career, who were kind of always bickering or fighting with each other. And we eventually shot that in the Theatre Royal in Brighton. Again, we had so much support and help from people. It was great. And then came our second nomination.
See,
exactly. And it was just like, it was amazing. And we were like, I was just so overjoyed with it. And it was like, okay, well, now I'm going to submit all my work that I'd submitted in the last 6 years to them, right? And the overwhelming response was, yeah, we love this, Raph. We've been tracking your career for years, and we love this. This is fresh, it's original. It's like, no, it's not. It's 6 years old, and I've been sending it to you for 6 years. It's the same stuff. The difference is I'm wearing a couple of little badges now that says I've been nominated a couple of times. Maybe that
it's so weird how people do that all the time.
Perception of that, right? So and I understand it, because it's a business. Is kind of capitalizing on the moment and the flavor of the moment. And we were, we were there kind of trying to get things going, and we had a couple of big projects and stuff. So I got an agent, and it was great, and it was a great agent, really, really good. I was just like so happy. I just wish there'd been any work coming out of it, but anyway. I had to, more. I was kind of being sold, I guess, as a writer, as a feature writer, and as a producer, not so much, but as a feature writer. And so a couple of my scripts went out to some studios, and I had some great feedback. I was put up to write an Oliver Stone film, which was amazing, which is fantastic. Obviously completely inexperienced, really. I've done a couple of short films. No one's going to give me a gig like that. No one's going to give me a film no one's going to back a film which is, a huge sweeping epic set in revolutionary Russia about a biopic of a woman, which I'd written with my brother. An amazing story, and we'd spent some time researching it. So this was it was an incredible story, and I still love it. And it hasn't been made. It has been made, actually, been made in Russia, but not an English language version of it. So we, my brother and I, we just started kind of making stuff and trying to get things going and keep your head above water, really. So we were just doing corporates, and whilst we were developing projects and doing trailers, and Dom eventually got an agent and did a lot of telly. So he was doing EastEnders, Casualty, Footballers' Wives. He did a series for children's series for the BBC, and then he did this Julian Fellows series, Most Mysterious Murders. That's right. And it was it was a busy time for us. And actually, we were in the middle of trying to get a project going. Again, we found a really great story, and we were working on it. We've been working on it for 18 months, and or longer, actually. And my agent then turned around and said, "Oh, by the way, Judi Dench has just been given, and Stephen Daldry has just been given the go-ahead on this particular project, which was competing with ours completely head-to-head." And, they'd been sitting there. It had been sitting there on the shelf for years, but they'd just got the green light on it. So it was like, okay, that's 18 months of work, 2 years of work, done. Next project.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was like that. Next project, we got, you got to get into you got to move on to the next thing. So we did. We started developing our next project, which we loved. It was great, and but we were busy. I was kind of writing and trying to make ends meet. Don was doing his directing. So we really had very little time to meet. So he arranged for me to come up and be a supporting artist, an extra, on the day with the Julian Fellows thing. So my abiding memory of that is being dressed as a Victorian policeman with a moustache, having a meeting with Dom in one of the crew buses at lunch. That was the only chance we had. He did give me a line to say, which I completely messed up. Can you believe it? It was only
Raph.
Yeah, no, I know, and definitely not in front of the camera. So I could strike that one off, as I could veterinary science, right? And I still remember the line. The line is, "I'm arresting you for the murder of Rose Harsent."
And how did you say it?
"I'm arresting you for the murder of Rose Harsent." I did it so many times, and everyone was so patient, so lovely, because I was the director's brother. I don't know if they knew that, but I think at that point Dom said, "Right, moving on, we've got it." And I knew he hadn't got it. And I took my moustache off, took my uniform off, and I went home, and then sent him an email later on about our own project. So anyway, we developed our project up, and again we try and do this thing. We met Stephen Woolley, who's a great producer, and Nick Powell, years and years ago. And Stephen Woolley said to us, he goes, "Great piece of advice. It's like basically just get on with what you're doing and let everyone else play catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Don't wait for anything. Just do it." So this is what we were doing. And so we had a project. We were casting it. We shot a trailer for it, and we were going out to the industry. And in all this time, I'm batting back and forth to various film festivals with my producer hat on and writer hat on. We did Berlin, and we did Cannes. We did Cannes as well again, and various other things. And we were happy to be kind of accepted onto various schemes that the National Lottery were running through their screen agencies. Screen South. So we had some, they gave us a lot of support, and we went to workshops and all that sort of stuff for our project. And so I'm very, very pleased with that, and I was very thankful of that. So we had this project which was set in Siberia. It was a kind of last man standing thriller, but with a real edge to it, and it was we were very happy with it. And we had a meeting in Berlin with some people who were interested in it and interested in financing it. We'd also decided, let everyone play catch up kind of attitude, to start shooting some B-roll in Norway.
Oh boy.
In 2 weeks' time. So that was the plan. And we basically got to Berlin to talk about this deal, and I won't mention the name of the film, but the distributor turned around and said to us, well, actually, we've been tracking this other film with a big name director, which is very similar to yours, and that's the one we've invested in. Well, they'd already invested anyway. All they were doing was tracking ours to see whether we would be a bit of a nuisance to them. And the next line was, but you're welcome to use our sets. It's like, really? Okay, thank you very much. But I think I've got a couple of choice words in that to respond to that, right? So I left literally Berlin. I had that meeting, I remember, and it's like, oh God, no, not again. And I left that hotel meeting, and I got into a taxi, and I went straight to the airport, and I flew back home again. And I said, Dom, we got to page one it. We got to do a page one on it again, right? And it's like, okay, what are we going to do? So we left it a couple of weeks, and then after that, it was maybe we can reset it. Maybe we can reset this thing.
Yeah.
And so what we did is we decided we were going to reset it. We set it, instead of snowy Siberia, we set it in the jungles of South America, and actually Guyana, French Guyana. So think about that kind of papillon environment. Let's reset the whole thing there. And all this time we're trying to fund just food. We're trying to keep food on the table at home and do everything you can to earn a living. Right? We were, doing boot fairs and all this sort of stuff. This is the glamorous life of screenwriters and producers and directors, right? We're just doing anything to earn money, to keep going for the next phase of what you're trying to do. And then we were lucky enough to be invited out to Mexico, to Morelia, actually. And that was all expenses, and it was great. They were trying to encourage some kind of synergy between Mexican and UK co-producers. And so we were on the guest list. We were flown out there. I was incredibly thankful for that. And we started to try and make some contacts there to shoot in Mexico or to shoot in Costa Rica. We were looking at that as well, I think. Mexico was the number one thing. And so yeah, we tried. We got a kind of co-production deal with somebody, and then it just kind of all just disappeared and kind of fell apart, right? So yeah, we at that point we've exhausted all our reserves, and and it's difficult to go on. So Dom carried on doing some of his other work. I was doing some stuff as well. And when I mean stuff, I mean non-film stuff, right?
I get it.
Non-film stuff. Anything that tries to, anything that kind of pays the bills, really, keeping the wolf from the door. I think, and we were both selling, antiques or stuff, right? We're buying and selling stuff and doing boot fairs and trying to earn a little bit of money that way. And it all went back into what we were trying to do. Nothing to show for it. Nothing to show for it at all. We weren't driving around in fancy cars or anything like that. It's very, very, very tough. And you get a knockback and you have to wake up the next day and think, okay, we're going to reset. You're going to page one, and you start again. And I think that's kind of something in life you learn about as well.
Yeah, that's true.
It teaches you about these things, getting knocked back so many times, and you kind of understand the emotions you go through in those moments, and you have to express them. But then you have to think, okay, this has happened. I can't change it. So I can either dwell in it and live in it and ruminate for the next 10 years about the misfortune, or how I was wronged, or how I should be right up there with all the with all the best of them. Or, I just get on. I get on and just do something else, right?
But that's the thing, Raf. The one thing I can say about you and your brother is how you would never stop. You didn't stop. You were persistent.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a big, I don't know where it comes from, because it almost feels sometimes like it's against my character, because it's like so easy to say, I'm going to stop. And then there's something in me that's pulling me. It's, no, you're going to keep going. You're going to keep going. Or you're going to think of another angle. That will come into my mind. Think of another angle, right? And so all this time I'm writing, and I'm writing different projects, comedies, horrors, thrillers. They're all features, and it's all giving me a great understanding for the craft and what's working and what isn't working, right? And just doing it, knowing that I might be in love with that at the moment, in those moments as I'm writing them, but I know in the back of my mind it may not happen. But to enjoy that journey and know that there's perhaps a writing sample there, well, there's something in there that I can use for later on. So nothing's ever wasted when you work. And I was recently clearing out my garage, and I found a whole box full of files with stuff I can't even remember writing. And I thought, oh, okay, I could use that. I might have to steal that. Who is this talented author? Oh, no, it's me. No, perhaps it's not so good after all. Perhaps it's just perhaps it's a load of wittering, nonsense.
Don't say that.
But I think also, there's a thing as you go through having your life experiences, and outside of your work and your professional life, you go through just everyday survival and relationships, and they rise and fall, your heartbreaks, your successes, the little mini things that happen to you, just going out and having a great meal somewhere, whatever it is. But all those things inform your writing and mature you as a person. And there's no way that I could have written, although it was over 20, 25, 26 years ago, the short film, there's no way I could have written that any earlier in my life, because I wouldn't have understood anything about life, really, and about nuances of human behavior or feelings, or how to express those things.
Yeah, true.
And sometimes experience is impossible to teach, but you can emulate a feeling in your work. There's an old adage of write what you know, which is true in the context of the way you interpret it. Write what you know about. So you write what you know. I might not know anything about watchmaking, but I might know about the frustration of losing a contact lens on the floor. The similar way. It's that thing. I can relate to the emotion. Right?
You can connect to it.
You can connect.
In that way.
Yeah.
But Raf, what about, was there ever a moment in your writing or screenwriting where it stopped feeling like a dream and started feeling like your identity, part of you? Was there ever a moment when you felt like that?
Yes, I think so. I'm saying it is. Yeah, I think so, because I do remember. I was always very aware of calling myself a writer or a screenwriter or a producer for that matter, even though there was a little bit of experience and success back in the day. I just felt like a bit of a fraud with it, and I, I would get on a plane, for example, and go down to Cannes for the festival, and on that EasyJet flight to Nice, I would be bitter and twisted listening to all these people pitching their ideas to each other, thinking, God, and then that's me, right? That I'm that person doing it, but I just didn't like the industry side of it, and so I didn't identify with being a writer because I wasn't a professional writer. I was a writer that had just written something that got noticed, maybe I've written an article and it had gone to some magazine. That doesn't make me a writer. Oh, it does make you a writer, actually. I shouldn't be saying.
Yeah, it does make you a writer.
It does make you a writer. But I didn't call myself that for years. And it was only when I started to get assignments and commissions to write full-length screenplays within the scope of a fee that would be reflective of what a writer would get, Writers Guild minimums and things like that. That I started to think, okay, well, I've delivered the script, or I've delivered the treatment, or I've discussed the idea. They haven't complained and they haven't wanted their money back. Right? I'll leave it 30 days for that whole money back guarantee thing, and then see what happens after that. But they didn't come back. They were all happy. So I thought, okay, I've done something right. So that's when I started calling myself a writer, because I was able to carry on doing that. I was able to deliver, and that became very enjoyable because I knew I could adapt people's ideas, or take a book and adapt a book, memoir or something like that, into something quite good. And I think one of my things that I love doing is I love writing comedy, and I love all kinds of genres really, but I also just love reading other people's work and understanding where they're coming from as well. And I've been fortunate to I was approached by a woman who wrote a trilogy of books about her life growing up, and her father was a drug smuggler and gun runner in the States, and he was part of the early formation of the Sinaloa drugs cartel. And she wrote the story of her growing up, and obviously the generation before that, as part of a trilogy of books. And honestly, Savia, I'm not even saying this. I wouldn't even. She asked me to adapt it into a pilot for a TV series, and I read the book, and I was like, this is just amazing work. Yeah. She hadn't published it, and it was just like a sleeper. It was a hidden gem. The writing was like John Steinbeck. It was beautifully written, really well observed. The characters were incredible, but she had no deal. She's just a writer who started writing these books. So yeah, I partnered with her, and she still hasn't got a deal. I've written a couple of pilots for it, but something that will happen one day. Somebody may discover it one day, because it's an absolute gem of a book. Even if it doesn't turn into a film or a series, the writing just deserves to be shared. The story.
I agree with that one.
But there are so many people like that. There are musicians, there are artists that you come across, and you think, why aren't you in the gallery?
But that happens, Raph. Yeah. That happens so often, where there are hugely talented people. But here's the thing that might make you go, what the hell? Because there are so many people, and I'm not being bag by saying this, I'm just being very honest. Yeah. There are so many people are like, how the hell did you get there? Because it's And the song is like, mm-mm. The film is, mm-mm. There are the adverts, and then there are beautiful. I'm just being honest. You know, it's true.
Absolutely.
And there's so many people who have talent, magnificent talent, but maybe they just don't know how to pitch themselves, or maybe they just don't. They're very shy and introverted, or maybe it's not their time yet, or maybe they're too advanced in time for their work to come out to the world, because people might not understand it in the way that it needs to be understood. And then there are people who like, how the hell did you get into the industry? Like, do you know someone who knows someone and that's how you got in here? Because it's the truth. It's the truth.
Yeah.
And it's the same for music. Like, how the hell did you write that song and it became number one, or it went in the top 10? There are so many different ways, but again, it can be so many different things, like manifestation, universe, it was your time, and that's just how it works. Unfortunately, that's the way life is, and that's how. But your time will come. I always believe that your time will come.
Exactly. My brother and I, we would always joke when we had a setback. We would say, "Well, the good times are over. Now we're going to have to." And it's kind of a self-soothing thing, because you're right, and to quote a movie, what if this is as good as it gets?
I've heard that many a times.
What if this is as good as it gets? And so enjoy it, and enjoy the success, and learn from those failures, and just keep going, because if it's there, if that drive is there and that dream is there, then just keep doing it, even in tiny little small increments. And I reached a point a few years ago where things got pretty bad for me. I was like really right up here, and I went right down. It just everything collapsed for me. Yeah. I'd reached a point where I was working on a project that I was asked to produce, and essentially, there were two projects I was working on at that time. One was a very low budget film about domestic abuse survivors, but it was written not as a comedy, but it was written about in a kind of reflective survival attitude, and it was based on a true story, and it was a really positive thing. And we were gonna go out and try and conceive this in a very different way, because we were going to make it very meta. So there'd be the film, and then within that film we were going to have a play. But that play was a real play that was performed in London. So the actors in that play would also be in the film, playing themselves, playing the play. Anyway, that whole thing. And then we were going to do kind of a New York version of it. We did the play, and it ran for a month in London, and then so we were on track to put the rest of the elements together. So we were writing the script for that, and at the same time, I was working on this other project, which then attracted some very big names, some very big Hollywood names, and I won't mention the names yet. And that resulted in a deal with Amazon Studios.
Okay.
And it was at the early stage of that, and so it's like, oh my God, we've suddenly I'm going from this to sitting in LA in loads of meetings in Netflix, Amazon, with all the big players, with all the big agencies, CAA, with William Morris, with loads of the players, and I had the top agents calling me every other day. You wouldn't get to them in years, and I had them calling me, Raph, if there's anything we can do to help, we offer our clients. If you need any money, we'll help. We'll do all of that. right? I'm like, what's happening here? What's going on here? I was putting a knot in my shoes because I broke my laces and couldn't afford to buy another pair like 2 weeks ago. What are you talking about? And now you're offering me shed loads of money, and that's what happened. So offered the money, and then there was I'm very much a straightforward person, and I do everything on trust and handshake, and then there was a party that said, you know what, we'd really be happy to finance this movie. We'll finance it. And it was a large budget. And the rights owner of that movie, I'm just picking my words carefully, turned around and said, well, if they're financing it, why do we need you, Raph? It's because I just set the deal up. I'd attached the cast. I had negotiated the deal and a rewrite, so you kept all the rights to it, and I funded the development. That's why. And it all went horribly wrong. And anyway, what happened is, effectively, I got fired from.
What?
Yeah, I got fired by the rights producer. A new script was commissioned, but the person that was meant to write the script didn't write the script. Instead, they farmed it out to somebody else, which I found out about. And of course, that's not what the company paid for. They paid for a vision from the person they were contracting. So the whole thing collapsed, went face down, really. And at the same time that happened, our domestic abuse film, one of the partners in that, lovely guy, he was a senior partner at Skype, and a producer and the executive producer of the film. He got promoted and sent to Seattle. So I was like, oh my God, we're not going to be able to make this either. So at that point I was like, you know what, as much as I love this, I need to have a break. I need to kind of take time out. And I did. I took a year out or something like that, a year and a half, a bit more than that. And what I did in that year, I learnt Leathercraft.
Hey, if it made you happy, do it.
Happy. I made belts and wallets. I hand stitched everything. I dyed beautiful veg tan leather. I made journals. It was therapeutic. It was great, and I loved every moment of it. Unfortunately, it didn't pay any bills. So I was like, what am I going to do? It's like, I don't want to write again. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to write a novel, because that's what maybe I can do, because I don't want to get stuck back in the world of screenwriting or writing TV stuff, because I'm just like, I'm so over it at the moment. I need to recharge my batteries, and and so I thought, what am I going to do? So I thought, what can I do with this? So anyway, I saw that there was a master's program at a university in creative writing. So I thought, I'll apply for that. And it gave you the opportunity in your second year to work on your own work. I thought, great. That's a great way to kind of DOS for a couple of years. Not to have to make decisions, but I get all the benefits of being a student at 50. No, almost 55, right? So it's like a bit late, but, I've taken a lot of resits to get...
Nothing's too late. No. Nothing's too late, Raph.
Nothing is too late. No, nothing is too late, of course. And anyway, I didn't get in. I didn't expect to get in. I didn't go to university. I went to film school and did an HND. So I'm not going to get into this place, right? And then what happened is I got a call about a week later to say, "Oh, someone's dropped out. Would you like a place?" It's like, oh my God, that's amazing. So yeah, so I went on to the Cambridge University on their creative writing masters or MST course, and it was just magical to go on to it. Magical, because I learned so much about my writing, so much about different types of writing, different forms.
Yes.
It started with poetry, we did non-fiction, we did everything. Every single day was an absolute joy to be there. And it was kind of part-time, so we had modules every 3 or 4 times a year, I think, from memory. But it was a great group of people, and I thoroughly enjoyed every single second I was there. In my second year, I started writing an idea that I'd had ages ago, which was going to be a feature, which was about it was a story about the last genie on Earth.
Oh.
And that story was going to be contemporary, and it was set in Barbados. And I've always loved the Caribbean and that island, and I thought it would be a great setting for that. And it'd be an unusual setting as well. So I wrote so many different versions of that story to try and understand my style. I wrote it the third person, the first person. I was just experimenting with it. Different types of different types of dramatic structures and things like that. And it was becoming such a headache. Anyway, I eventually wrote the book, and then I knew it was absolute garbage. It was just a sheaf of paper with just printing on it, right? Just words. It didn't hang together or anything like that. And I was lucky enough to be able to then go back to the island, and I decided to rewrite it, which I did.
Mm-hmm.
And halfway through that rewrite, and this is the thing with kind of life, isn't it? I realized what the story should be. What the story really should be. And there is an expression: if you're on the wrong train, the sooner you get off, the less expensive it's going to be to get back home again.
That is very true.
Right? That could be for anything in life, right? So, but I thought, well, I'm 3/4 the way through this. I better finish. And it was the most hurried 25% of a novel you've ever seen. I was just literally, like a cartoon character, banging the keyboards, churning this thing out. But and actually I was just making notes about it. And I know where I want to be with the story, but I didn't have the energy to really do another third draft. And so I finished the course, and I was thinking, okay, I've got to figure out what I'm going to do now with this. And then a job came in.
See?
A writing job. And it was like, well, I don't want to do that because by the way, at that point, I'd reverted back to being anxious about being a writer, because long form fiction now, I can say with hindsight, is not my bag.
Yep.
It's weird. I can analyze something and I can work on someone else's thing, but if I'm working on my own, no, it's not me.
But that's always, I find that's always the case with certain things, especially us as creative people.
Yeah.
We always feel like we can serve other people, but we don't end up serving ourselves in the same way, which is always the same thing. It's a cycle.
Yeah.
It's a creative mind cycle.
Yeah, this is it. I'm editing someone's book at the moment, and I'm loving it. And their work is great, and it's really well written. And I know where I'm going with it, but I can't do that with my own. For some reason, I can't do it with my own. But so basically, when I left the course, I had a commission. I swore off writing any TV series or features, and since then, I hadn't stopped. So it's what's that about? It's just like
life.
It's life, isn't it?
It's just life. But this is the question I have, because I know that we've almost been, wow, that's gone fast. An hour has gone extremely fast.
And you've asked like 3 questions?
Doesn't matter. You told your story. I love that. That's what it's about. That is what it's about. So for me, I only have 2 more questions for you, because I just love the way you just went through it, because you showed the people in telling your story that it's not as glamorous as it seems. It's definitely not as glamorous as it seems. When you see the TV and you see everyone dressed up and they're going to collect their awards, it's a completely different scenario. But when you're in it and you're getting frustrated, you want to pull out your hair, you're getting kicked out of deals, someone else is getting promoted that they shouldn't. There is so much Raph that goes on in the industry of music and in the industry of film.
Yeah.
And it's not as glamorous as it seems. There are nights where you're up till 3-4 o'clock in the morning and people don't realize. There are nights when you're sweating, like you say, you're banging the keyboard.
This is it, yeah.
You know, and these are things that people don't see or realize. They just want the fame part, they just want the glamorous part. So the question I do have for you, the second to last question I do have for you, would be, what would you say to anybody who has been through a similar situation like yours and still wants to be the writer, the director, the producer? What would your advice be to them?
You don't have to be great, but you have to be consistent.
I like that.
Greatness will come as you're giving those breaks, and you are great, right? You are great, but
Yeah.
I was in a jury of a very well-known, very prestigious, worldwide awards. Right? I'm not going to say which one. And we were split between two films that were going to win. That was going to win, right?
Yeah.
We are 7 of us each side. We couldn't decide. So
Whoa.
the third place film, our second choice, won.
Seriously?
Yeah. So not that you can say first, second, and third, but you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know the kind of the kismet, the strangeness out there, and it's impossible that one little turn, one little event, one meeting could transform your whole life.
That's true.
And if it doesn't, then it doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It just but you've got to enjoy it. It's not about being great. It's just about being consistent, you know.
I like that. So I know we're gonna have to do a part 2, Raph, because I felt like I spoke to you for 5 minutes and
I'm sorry. And I spoke at you for 55. I'm so sorry.
No, stop it. Stop it. We're definitely gonna have to do a part 2 to this. But I would love for people, you know what, more than anything, because of all your experience, everything that you've been through, your emotional trials and tribulations of what you've gone through in your life, and you still persist in life.
Yeah.
I would love people to genuinely get to know you more.
Yeah.
Where can they find you? Because I would love for people to just ask you questions and just get to know about your life and what you've been through and how you create and how your mind works, because creative people's minds work in such a beautiful way that only some may understand in the way that it's meant to be understood. But please tell us where we can find you.
Well, I don't have a website. Maybe it's something I should do at some point. I have an email, and that's usually in my IMDb profile. Although I'm not sure whether it's on the free version or the pro. It's on the pro version, but I can give that out in any way. Should I give that out now?
If you want to, yeah, go for
If
it.
you want to contact me, it's word1@line1.net. WORDONE @line1 LINEONE.net. I'm really happy to help or answer any questions that I can with things. You know, I think that there's no value in being a gatekeeper to information, and I think that people that do hold on to their information very tightly are the people that are the most insecure, I should say.
Yeah.
You know,
I agree with that.
I think, you know, just be generous in life. Just be generous in life.
This is what the show's about, I think, being generous in life and with information that people might not be able to receive from anybody else.
Yeah.
So Raf, from me to you, I have enjoyed. You've been one of the most genuine guests with so many stories that I've had on the podcast. It's been exceptional. So, although it has, it's been like, yep, I can just chill with Raf and just talk forever, and just hear so many different stories. So, from me to you, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're definitely going to do a round 2.
Thank you.
I know that for sure, because I know you got so many other things to say. And what do you mean? They're pearls of wisdom. You know, they are pearls of wisdom. Believe me. You know, there are so many.
Whether they're wise or not, at the end of the day,
listen. That's up to. Leave that up to the guests. Okay. Leave that up to the listeners. To hear. And believe me, they'll take away something. They'll definitely take away something. So from me to you, Raf, I want to say thank you so much for taking your time to come on the podcast, for everything you've been through. You still have a beautiful story to share with the world, and allow them to say, look, persistence is key. Keep going. Don't stop. Don't believe what anybody else says. Stay on your own path. Yeah. Love life as much as you can. You will have ups, you will definitely have downs, but you can get back on your feet, because the only way is up when you are down. So Raf, from me to you, thank you so much.
Thank you, Savia. It's been a delight. Thank you.
No, you are more than welcome. And guys, I want to say thank you so much for listening to the Ask People podcast. And please remember, you can subscribe and leave us a review on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, or any other platform that you prefer listening to. Please remember, you can also go to the Savia Rocks website to find out more about myself, or if you want to find out more about the Ask People podcast, please go to the Ask People podcast website. And the most important part, this is where I say thank you so much for listening. Stay happy, stay positive, and as always, please continue to be kind to one another. Take care.
I'ma get deeper. Tables are turning, world in reverse, political burning. Where is the love? Where is the hope? Where is the faith inside? It's been misplaced, power being misguided, manipulation used for both sides, unjustified violence. You living it up in your kingdom, where you're using the misguide that wants to do your killing.
That's amazing. Yeah, be kind to each other. That's the thing. That's the thing, right? Because I see so much hate now. You know, I at a time when I had my heart attack, I was like addicted to TikTok, right? And I see so much hate on there, and it's just like, oh, I had to sort of stop in here, because it's like.
How do you breathe and how do you sleep? I guess it's a lie you've been telling yourself. Get deeper, tables are turning, the reverse political burning. Change the sins of your fathers, ripple through time, we living and breathing it. How could I breathe when I see people dying on both sides? We need to do better, shell shock, yeah, imagine that. Powers pretending they don't even have blood on their hands. Playing on both sides, you know what you did. Change the status quo, sins of your fathers, ripple through time, we living it, breathing it. Kings and queens, mass destruction, digging mass graves, driven by the greed. You don't really care. Devil smile in my face. Your hidden agenda ain't really about peace. Your hidden agenda ain't really about love. How do you breathe and how do you sleep? I guess it's a lie you've been telling yourself. The lies we see through the darkness and the blurry lines. I'm about to dive in deep. The wheels are spinning, globes in rewind, political ablaze. Where's compassion? Where's the love?